18% of the homes year to date sold between January and March. Then in the spring, so March to May, 36% of the homes sold. And then summer, June to, August, kind of up to now, Labor Day-ish, it was 38%.
Welcome back to the Modern Agent Podcast. My name is Logan Ricchetti with Modern Realty. This podcast is a combination of thoughts and opinions on the real estate market in Midland, Michigan with our local real estate agents from Modern Realty. Our mission is to create informed and confident buyer and seller clients, so tune in to learn more about Midland's real estate market.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Modern Realty Podcast. My name is Emilee, and today I am here with Amy. And today we're going to talk about the market, specifically Saginaw County. So Amy and I do a lot of business in that area, and we kind of felt like we wanted to share some information that some people might not know about the area. But to get us started, Amy, you and I had some good news last night.
Yes, we did.
We got a deal together.
Yes, we did.
In Saginaw.
An off-market deal.
An off-market deal. In my house.
I know. But it was good because we talked to each other at the office during a huddle.
We did. Yeah.
And you had what my clients needed.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the beauty of when we get together at our huddles is that we get a chance. I mean, you were just saying next, we said, hey, I have these clients and they're looking in Saginaw. This is kind of what they're looking for. And then I had the opportunity to say, well, and that's what happens. I mean, that's even how I found the house was pre-market through our office.
And it was perfect because we have looked at a lot of homes. Mm-hmm. So, and I would like to say that a lot of homes out there are junk. And my client would walk in and he'd look around and say, I don't think it's for me. And so then, because we kind of wanted to honor the time obligation, you still go through the house. And the more you went through the house wasn't for them.
It still was not for them. But you don't want to have these weird gaps between your showings.
I love a go and show because then you can, kind of make up the time.
Go, show, and leave.
Yes, go, show, and leave. And if you need to reschedule another home, that's a go and show. You can just immediately schedule it and get there. Now, when he walked into your home, he loved it.
Oh, thank you.
He didn't even make it through the whole first floor. And he's like, I love this house. And I was like, I love it too. Let's do this.
I love this for you. Right. It's super exciting. We're excited. We are, it's fun as an agent, of course, to do this for other people. We do that every day. But then even now getting the chance again to do it for myself and even like talking my husband through the process again, because it's been about 5 years.
Right.
And it's interesting because I find myself having conversations in my brain of like a normal person, like freaking out, a little bit nervous. What about this? What about this? And then the other half of my brain is the realtor side saying, it's going to be okay. And this is what we're going to do. And if this happens, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And it's wild because actually my husband looked at me a few weeks ago and he said, I think you would be your own worst client. I said, I think I might be. I'm kind of glad no other agents have to deal with me.
Right.
But it's a good reminder of, we understand what our clients go through.
We do.
We're sensitive to that. But to then also go through it, you're like, oh, yeah. People could be a lot more crazy if they wanted to be.
Yes, they could. When we moved back here, I did not list my house because I couldn't be there to take care of the whole transaction. So I actually had another agent that I worked with list for me. So that worked out well. She could take care of it while we moved. That way we were out of the house. But I think this is going to go smoothly.
I hope so. Here's to hoping so. It's always great when we get to work with, somebody that we know and we trust, we communicate well with.
We know how our office works, everything that's in place. Follow those steps and you should be able to get it done.
Well, and I even know their lender and, that all those connections help. And those connections even help when we're working with other clients. That's why we network.
Yes.
Is when, a seller or a buyer for our property or somebody else's, whatever, it's really nice to know, okay, I'm familiar with their title company. I'm familiar with their lender. I have their number saved. Or I'm familiar with their agent. It's even outside of our office. When you build those relationships, that always helps.
1,000%.
Always helps a transaction. Even if the transaction's not going well, when you hit a speed bump, it's nice when you have that relationship built because it's not me against you. You're a team. We're all a team. Your client wants to buy the house. I want to sell the house. We're all in the same boat. So
it's
it
nice
helps.
working with other professionals.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because when you don't,
Things get crazy. They can. They can get
that's when it
crazy.
gets bad.
So let's talk about, I pulled some statistics
Okay.
for Saginaw County because we were kind of talking about this. We've talked about this before, with our office being in Midland. Sometimes our people don't totally understand that we are actually licensed for the entire state.
Yes.
And, we do a lot of things outside of just Midland, especially the handful of us who do.
Correct.
On a regular basis. So I pulled some stats for Saginaw County.
It's a different market.
It is different. And I tell people, especially people coming from like out of state, and you'll understand this too, when you're looking at the Tri-Cities, Bay City, Midland, Saginaw, they are all different.
They're all different.
And they have different things to offer.
Yes.
Different pros and cons, and the market reflects that.
Yes.
So right now, year to date, there's been a little over 1,300 homes sold in Saginaw County. Now, let's also talk about what Saginaw County means.
It's big.
It's big. It's very big.
It means Freeland. It means Frankenmuth. It means Merrill. It means Hemlock.
St.
Charles. Shields,
Yeah.
which is a Saginaw address, but a division of Saginaw.
Yeah.
Thomas Township.
Carlton.
Carlton.
Different school districts.
Correct.
But Saginaw address. Just for reference, Saginaw is 816 square miles. Midland is 528. So that just kind of gives a good point of reference,
Right.
especially people who are local to Midland, just how big Saginaw covers. So
Yes.
when we have clients that are looking in Saginaw, we really have to be like, okay, well, where in Saginaw? Because that could be
Bridgeport, Birch Run.
that could be a 5-minute drive or it could be a 30-minute drive.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah, it's good to know your areas.
It is, because they're very different.
They are very different.
You can get city, you can get country. I mean, you can have anything in between in Saginaw County.
You want a nice small town, you can find that in Saginaw County.
Yeah, exactly. And, we discussed too that when we have clients that are maybe struggling in other areas of the Tri-City to find what they're looking for, or in their price range, or they're getting beat out, we've kind of suggested like, hey, would you maybe consider, I mean, you're so close to the line, like let's maybe
Right.
just jump over into Freeland.
Yeah.
Something like that can be a huge benefit to buyers.
I agree.
But I think when people hear Saginaw, they have a much smaller idea of that area.
Of what it has to offer.
And what it has to offer.
And it's changed so much. I mean, in the 90s, I went to school at Michigan Lutheran Seminary, and just like how like our school's conference has changed, and the different high schools that are available and how they've fluctuated. Some have gone up in the number of kids that go there. Some have gone down. The conferences have changed. I mean, so it's a lot different. But I guess like 30 years will do that.
Well, that's okay. I even when I went, because I went through the school system in Saginaw Township, and now have I guess not even friends' younger siblings, because now it's been long enough that they're gone through as well.
Right.
But from what I hear from friends who have kids that are entering the school systems, it's even changed since I was going. And same thing, just getting bigger and larger and shifting. And there's several elementary schools, and the city just built a new huge multi-million-dollar high school.
I haven't even been down to see it yet. I want to, though.
Yeah, I've seen MLive did a video tours of it,
okay.
and it is something to behold. It is huge. It's beautiful. It's awesome for the city of Saginaw.
I like that they picked the location down by the river. I'd love to see that area downtown revived.
Well,
it's so beautiful.
And that's the thing, is that we see, a lot of really cool businesses come into the riverfront.
Yes.
And really trying to revitalize. I mean, even what the Temple Theater is doing, the Dow Event Center. I mean,
Yep.
the Spirit hockey team just won the Memorial Cup, which according to my husband's like really
so much
big
fun
deal.
Too. Yeah. And it was fun. Like, it was bustling down there.
Yeah,
So-
they had events like all week. I had friends who were posting on social media, being down in the Jolt Credit Union, amphitheater park area. They had so much stuff for kids, and
Yes.
promoting the Memorial Cup, promoting Saginaw. A lot of the small businesses I know did special things for it.
Right.
So it was really cool to see that event come to Saginaw, because I know that was, like I said, according to my husband, it was a really big deal.
Yeah.
And that they won.
I know.
which was cool.
It was very cool.
Have you been to any of like the comedians or anything like that the Temple Theater has been bringing in?
I haven't been to any of the comedians, but I want to say, was it just last winter? I want to say maybe 2 years ago. Jason Isbell came and played, and it was fantastic. Like if they need to start doing concerts at the Temple.
Yeah, and
it's a great venue.
And I'm involved with a production that's been at the Temple Theater the last couple of years, so I've gotten to know the managers and things like that down there, and really gotten a chance to hear their goals and kind of their heart. And it's very much that they've been bringing in a lot of very popular comedians, a lot of very popular shows. It's not just it's not just offering programs to a very small demographic. They're trying to bring in entertainment that kind of offers something for everybody.
Right.
And I mean, those shows have been selling out.
Yeah.
And that's great because people come in for the shows, then they go get dinner, and all of that is great for Old Town and downtown.
Exactly. And
for the market and real estate and for the market.
While you're here, why don't you stay a while? Like the Dow Event Center too, they've got great concerts.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, we've enjoyed, and it's so nice because then you don't have to drive into Detroit. Not that I hate doing it, but
it's fun.
It's a hike.
It's a day. It's like a day to do it. But to go to the Dow Event Center, I mean, we've done it where, we get done with work and we drive 10 minutes and go to a Spirit game.
That's what I was going to say. It's like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's great.
So.
The Children's Zoo is another thing that I have actually started giving as gifts to my clients who have small children. I'll get them a year pass to the Children's Zoo because a lot of people, especially outside of Saginaw, don't really know it's there.
Right.
But it's awesome.
It is awesome. And I love that zoo has been kept up and maintained and is still open because I loved going there when I was a kid.
Yeah, I did too.
So yeah, I'm happy to see that that's still going. I'd love to see the ice rink come back to Hoyt.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like the people, because my family is from Saginaw. And so, you know, a long time of like, well, this used to be here and that used to be there. And it's cool because people who have been in town for a long time are seeing slowly but surely those things coming back.
The bean sign needs to come back.
I know. People have really tried to hang on to it, but it's a little sad to drive over the bridge and not see the bean sign.
I know. It is kind of sad, but I know it's like safe somewhere.
It is. But
you can get merch.
Well, and speaking of, kind of driving, over the river and seeing things, now they did the mural on those silos, and it's like...
It's so cool.
It's like the biggest mural or second biggest mural in North America. I should have looked it up before the podcast, but it has some big name to it, but it's huge. It's massive. It was like an artist from overseas that came and did it.
Yes. And I know a lot of kids have gotten like senior pictures done down there, and I think that's kind of a cool thing. So
it is.
When my son got his senior pictures done, he did it in downtown Saginaw. Just because they are cool, like buildings and backdrops.
We got our engagement pictures done down in downtown because there was just cool historical buildings and, like you said, backdrops, old murals to take pictures in front of. And plus, it was a little special for me, too, because I've grown up here and have driven around there my whole life. So it's very important to know that there's a lot going on in Saginaw. There's a lot of things that, people in Saginaw are very proud of. There's a lot of things that Saginaw can offer people that live in Midland Bay City and surrounding areas to drive into Saginaw. But what I've seen all of that translate into, and I know part of their goal in Saginaw for this as well, is people, like you said, hey, come and stay a while.
Yeah, stay a while. I'd love to see more businesses come back to the area. It's just, I feel like there's so much opportunity. And I know people are trying to get it going.
They are. And I think that they're doing a good job overall because over, the last 10 years, at least myself, we've seen a lot of these things, even in the last couple years. But it's been helpful because then when people are looking to move to the area, there's things that Midland offers that are great. There's, the riverfront in Bay City is awesome, but now there's also things that Saginaw offers that is exciting for, younger families or people who, want things, younger couples who want things to do but don't really want to pay, the property values in like Grand Rapids. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
So actually,
and we're closer to up north.
We are. My husband's from downstate, and his favorite thing about our area and why he wanted to stay here was because you can be an hour from up north. You could be an hour from,
Exactly.
hour or so away from Grand Rapids or Detroit. Like, you're really super central to everything without having to pay the price. Because actually, the average sale price in Saginaw County right now, as of yesterday, is $187. So we're under that 200 mark. That average price means that is, all the buyers in the market, that is what most of those buyers are looking for.
Right.
So I'm assuming that that's also what you've been running into, also that like 170, 190-ish, kind of area.
It's hard to get, though.
It is.
I tell you what, if you're looking, I've had mostly buyers lately in Saginaw Township, and that is a hard price point to come upon.
So have you been struggling, have they been struggling to find like a home period, or just getting those offers in? Like, how are you kind of handling that with your clients?
Well, first of all, it's, it's either like really good or really bad.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, but it's kind of what it is. And the really good homes, and it's typical in real estate, those homes go quickly. So first, it's just finding the home that's right for them. For a little bit this summer, there was just really low inventory. I felt like maybe just in the areas that my buyers were looking in, but we just could not find anything. And they ended up finding a house off market.
Yeah. Just through word of mouth. So that's a good question for, sellers. We get asked all the time, when should I sell? We're thinking about selling, and the very famous line is, we're going to wait till the spring. We're going to wait for the spring. Because people tend to think, and yes, overall trends lead to that the market picks back up in the spring and holds out through the summer.
Right.
But it kind of seems like for some buyers, that was not their experience this summer.
No.
Of having, new listings coming on the market. I mean, we still have a deficit of listings to number of buyers. But that is a question that I get asked all the time. Is, when should I list? Should I do it now? Should I wait for the spring? Especially this time of year when we're coming up to the holidays and Christmas. Do you have an answer that you kind of revert to that? Or do you just kind of take it case by case?
Usually, I always take it case by case. I would say right now is sort of a dead time.
Yeah.
People are buying, but we're right after Labor Day. Kids are back in school. They didn't transition to a new home before school started. So it's just, I think the homes right now, just looking at how they're priced, they're not priced badly. But I think they just need to wait a little bit longer. And there's been talk about interest rates dropping right now. So I think buyers are kind of on the fence, like,
And it's an election year.
And it's an election year. And there's always been sort of unrest every election year. I notice things pick up end of October into November.
I do too. And at least for myself, having, been doing this for, 5-6 years, I completely agree that this time of year after Labor Day, when school starts, that is always my slowest time. Everybody just seems to take a pause, especially in election year,
And
where
it's
everybody's
fine.
kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. And then at like end of October-ish, end of October, there's a huge spike because now everybody wants to be in their new home before the holidays.
Yes. Typically, I would say I have usually had a good fourth quarter.
I have too. Yeah.
And, at first, when I first got in the business, of course, like, it wasn't like gung-ho. I wasn't on that trend yet. But once you start, with your referrals and sphere of influence and whatnot, and, you do happen to notice those trends.
You do.
There is nothing wrong with putting your home on the market in the spring. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just going to be a little more saturated.
Yep.
So
that means some more potential competition.
Yes, potential competition.
For you, for your listing. I mean, it's still a seller's market, and I tell sellers that, yes, it's still leaning in your favor, but, things can happen. And, I have seen where, I will sit down with a client and we'll go through and we'll say, okay, this is what we're going to list for, and there are currently no other active homes at this price point. This is awesome. There's not going to be any competition for us. And literally the day we list, 3 more will list in that price range.
It's true.
Yeah,
So,
and that's competition for you. I mean, that's why it's still important when we list that we go through the whole listing process. We do the staging, we do the photography, we do the cleaning, we get it all set. Even if we think we're going to be the only ones out there, we can wake up one morning and not be the only ones out there.
right. And you've got to be prepared.
You do. You have to be
So-
prepared for anything. All we can do, I mean, it'd be really easy in real estate if we all had a crystal ball and we could know what was going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
But unfortunately, all we have to pull from is what happened yesterday
That's my favorite right now.
and anticipate what's going to happen tomorrow.
What's going to happen with the election? I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
I honestly do not know.
I mean, to kind of turn it back to when we bought our house, we got an accepted offer the day we went into the first COVID lockdown. It was March of 2020.
COVID was busy for me.
It was for me too, but we woke up one day and the world was going to end. And I remember saying to my husband, like, what are we doing buying a house? Like,
Why
the
not?
world's ending.
Why not? Why
the
not?
world's ending. We
Let's
probably
buy a
won't
house.
even. Yeah, let's buy a house. We probably won't even
We'll
have
never
to
pay this off.
Yeah, we'll never even get to live in it. But then it all turned out we ended up being super busy. All of the the prices skyrocketed, so a lot of sellers and a lot of people ended up selling. The interest rates plummeted, and I mean it ended up like.
It was a good time to buy.
It was a great time to buy. It was kind of that sweet spot. And so that's just a good example. And I've used that example before with clients of like, you just don't know what's going to happen.
You
but
don't
that's
know what's gonna
okay. We have plan A, plan B, and plan C. We prepare. We do a lot of preparing.
Yes, we do.
And we pull, I've talked a lot about, some of these numbers that I've pulled from the MLS because we love to pull numbers and pull data because that is how we back up our feelings of like, okay, this time of year feels, I've always kind of felt this time of year feels a little bit slow. Well, let's look into that. Let's pull numbers and see if that is accurate. I actually pulled numbers for, when should I sell and the percentages of the homes in Saginaw County and when they sold this past year. So in the winter market, so I did January to March, 18% of the homes year to date sold between January and March. Then in the spring, so March to May, 36% of the homes sold. And then summer, June to, August, kind of up to now, Labor Day-ish, it was 38%.
Well, spring and summer's pretty close.
It was super close. But one thing that I kind of noticed, and I wanted to note about that, is the homes that sold and closed, because that's what I had to pull from, is the homes that closed in March and April, especially the ones in March, they were getting under contract in February because it typically takes 30 to 45 days to close. So I kind of thought, that is a good thing for sellers to kind of realize is that
That's still winter.
that's still winter. That was in those winter months. And so when you say, well, I want to list in the spring, but you wait until May, well, now you're actually getting into the summer market.
Right.
If you want to hit the spring market, you really need to be preparing and getting ready in January and February because then you get, on the market. By the time you get listed, get on the market, it might be March. Or if you get an accepted offer, you're closing in the spring. You're closing in March.
Yes.
And I don't think I know that's not the terms that everybody else thinks in because we always think in terms of 30 days from now with everything. That's our
Right.
job. Everything is 30 days from now.
Well, and you have to look at like how long did these homes sit on the market before they sold? What was the average day on, time on market? And it's going to vary depending on the area and the price range.
Right. Because sub-market, and I talk to people a lot about sub-markets, that makes a big difference, especially in an area as big as Saginaw County. You have the average price of like that 170 to 190. That's going to be really quick, really low average day on market. But right now there's a house in Saginaw listed for $2.5 million. I don't know. I don't have any clients.
Is it the house on Gulfview?
It might be. Not sure. But when I was pulling these numbers, I was pulling, okay, what's the lowest price? What's the highest price?
Right.
And, once you get past that, like 4, 5, 6, actually, I was just doing showings last night that these homes were listed like for $400,000 or $500,000. And when these clients bought with me the first time, we were looking in the 180s with their first home. Now they're selling it and moving into the forever home. I said, hey, this is going to be a lot different than the last time you guys bought because now we are in this different sub-market. These are going to have a little longer days on market because there's just not the same number of people looking.
Correct.
I mean, there's probably going to be one person in Saginaw or one person moving to Saginaw that can afford 2.56 million.
I'll have to look up that home. I know the house over on Gulfview, and I love that street. I just absolutely think it's just gorgeous
beautiful.
over in that area. But that's been on the market. I mean, for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because it's a higher price point.
They're just waiting for the right buyer.
Yes.
And that is sometimes the case with homes is that, and I have this conversation, especially with like my vacation homes and like vacation homes, lake homes, things like that, or those higher price ranges. You're just waiting for the right buyer. And the good news is you only need one buyer.
You just need one buyer.
You just need one. You just need one really good buyer. But sometimes you have to wait for that buyer. And I think having that conversation helps when you're hearing, oh, it's a seller's market. Oh, my home sold in 12 hours with 15 offers. And you're kind of like, well, why didn't mine?
Well, as long as your client is informed of the situation, it's just going to be a completely different situation than if you were a lower priced home where there are more buyers.
Right. Exactly. And having that conversation ahead of time, which we're always very trained on, is having this conversation, having, the very upfront conversation of this is the situation that we're going into. This is what we have to offer. These are potential headwinds. Kind of like what we were saying. We don't always know exactly what's going to happen when we list.
No.
I had a lake home in Caseville. That I listed, had this whole conversation with my client of like, hey, this is a lakefront property, which is great, but the average home buyer, especially in Caseville, is not looking for a $500,000 lake house.
No, this is a vacation home.
This is a vacation home. This is going to be somebody in that position who's able to do that. And had them all prepped. I felt really good about the conversation. I went and put my sign in the yard. I put my sign in the yard. By the time I drove back from Caseville to Saginaw, I had an offer in my inbox because the neighbor's daughter just happened to be wanting to move next door, have a lake home. It was perfect, and voila. And so it was really great news, but I did feel a little silly calling my client and being like, oh, we got an offer.
But it was the best case scenario.
It was. I was
still.
And
you don't want to say like, I'm going to sell it in a day. And like,
no, you never say always. You never say, never say never.
No.
Never say never in real estate. But that's it. And I never walk into a listing appointment and say, I'm going to sell your home and this is how much I'm going to sell it for. And I'll call you after 24 hours with 10 offers, because even if you're falling in that average price range, you still don't know what's going to happen.
No. And I think right now the key for me is just patience and walking my clients through it. And they're just so lovely. I have a listing right now I feel like it's been sitting, but it's been like 18 days.
I know what house, because I love that house. That is a beautiful house.
I love the house. But
it's kind of specific. It's a little specific.
It is. It's big. It's 2,800 square feet. So if you don't want that much space, it's a lot of square footage.
It is.
So just myself being patient with it and talking to my clients. But, I constantly go over the data. What else is on the market in Saginaw in that price point? What are we competing with? So far, we are the lowest days on market. So I know that those homes are just going to take a little bit longer until a buyer comes along. That's fine.
Even though if someone calls you today to buy it, she wouldn't say no.
No,
we'd be real excited to be like,
be extraordinarily excited.
I had a condo that I listed, I think we listed in December, and we had the conversation about, do we list around the holidays? Is this a good time? Is it not? My clients were from out of state. It was kind of an estate situation, and they were like, do you know what? It's okay. Let's just list. If the right buyer's out there, they're out there. If not, it's okay if we sit for a little bit. Because I also talked to him about condos are different than single family homes.
It's true.
There
are condo fees. I think if people are not prepared to pay the association fee, sometimes it just slaps them across the face.
It does. And we had a lot of people come look at it and say it's a great listing. It's beautiful. We love it. But we don't think we want to be an association. And I'm like, when you pulled in, there was a sign
you loved it.
that it was an association. Right. But and I was saying, like, well, but someone comes and mows your lawn for you.
And you really have to look at, are you the services that are provided for the fee that you pay, are they worth it?
Yeah. Do they hold that value for you? The other thing with condos typically is that they're not super, kid friendly. It tends to be either young professionals or older retirees.
Right.
So that is cutting out a really large demographic. But I was doing the same thing. I was looking at our days on market. We were getting great feedback from showings, but it was just like, oh, we're not sure about condos. We're just kind of entertaining the idea of condos. We're not sure about a condo fee because those aren't super popular in our area.
There aren't a lot of condos.
There's not. And so that's not a very common thing for people in this area. But I'm just watching the days on market rack up. And same thing. I kept looking, saying, okay, there's 3 other condos. What are they doing? And they were doing the same thing.
I feel like they could be more popular coming up. Just with, like you said, it's popular with the older demographic. Mm-hmm. And if they're phasing out of wanting to take care of their, single family residents, then it might be a good idea to look into a condo.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and actually, this condo that I sold was in the Willow Point Association in Freeland.
Yes.
In Saginaw County.
In Saginaw County.
And at the time, so these condos had been built back in like 2000, like late 90s, very early, like 2000, 2001. And they have been sitting there, just condos. It kind of was funny. They looked like they just kind of fallen out of the sky and landed in a cornfield in Freeland for all of this time. We go to list and they break ground on brand new condos.
I know
right
exactly where you're talking.
And we're like, fantastic. They finally go to sell, and now it's a construction zone. But it's great for the association because all of those are now going to be a part of the association. Okay. They're beautiful cobblestone built condos. And actually just even in that whole like little really cornfield off of Midland Road, it has developed so much over the last 2-3 years. There's a daycare now. There's other condos and townhomes.
There are 2 restaurants.
There's
the family restaurant and then
the other side. On the other side.
It's cute in the
restaurant. It is. It's great. And that was the other thing too. The family talked to me about, we've been, had this house forever in the family, and it's always been just Riverside that they would go for dinner. And they're like, now we are moving on and selling, and now we get new restaurants and there's all this stuff going in, and they're like, whoa, this is crazy. But that's the thing too. In Freeland, I find a lot of people are very interested in Freeland. For a lot of reasons, for schools, for kind of being a little bit outside of the main drag of Saginaw Township. But now it's nice because they're getting a little more stuff.
And you're like literally halfway between Midland and Saginaw.
Yeah, you're literally 15 minutes away from everything, wherever you want to go. So especially if you have a spouse or, significant other that works in Bay City and you work in Saginaw, it's a great location. Nobody's having a 30-minute commute.
Right.
And there's some beautiful homes and a lot of new builds going in.
And you can get homes out there too where you're out in the country and you have the acreage and you're just right outside of town.
Yeah. You hit Tittabawassee and you're at Meyer and, all of that kind of stuff. And again, the beauty of some of these areas in Saginaw County that people don't, I think, always think about or realize that there's a lot of options.
And I feel like when I was little, it seemed to take forever. Now I know the speed limits have changed, but I just feel like I'm zipping around now.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm here already. Great. Like it's not
I
a
do.
pain in the butt.
I do stuff there's days where I'm in all 3 Tri-Cities, Midland, Saginaw, Bay City, Freeland, in one day. Now that does get to be a little bit of driving, but
if they would finish the construction on US 10, it would be easier.
Yes, you don't want to hit that during rush hour, but it will be nice once it's done. And they've been working on 10 a lot.
I know,
which is nice once it's done.
We appreciate the work.
We do, but something where we've been talking about these areas and options for buyers because, like you've said a lot, is that buyers are still, it's been the case the last 4 years. We have to be creative. Buyers have to be patient. We have to be patient. But something that we also do as agents a lot is we are always trying to come up with the next creative solution for our buyers.
You have to think outside the box.
We have to think outside the box. And something that I talked to, I was talking with a lender, again, just out networking and learning because we don't know everything, especially when we get into, I call it lender land.
Yes.
We're not lenders.
No. And I do refer back to the lenders that I have. Like, this is a great question for the lender. I do not want to steer you wrong.
Right.
Like,
I'm not a lender. I don't want to be a lender. That's not my gift. But to have some great lenders that we work with is a big tool in our back pocket because we could say this is a great question for your lender. But I was talking to this lender looking for a solution for clients of mine. and found out that MISHDA, which is typically a first-time home buyer program, actually offers a second-time home buyer option.
See, and I did not know that.
I did not know this either. And I was like, really? Because that is it's a very typical, it's a great program for first-time home buyers.
Yes.
It gets added on to your, conventional or FHA mortgage. So it's just kind of, I always say it's like a little add-on.
Right.
But it's always offered down payment assistance, things like that. So the second-time buyer program has targeted areas. That's the thing, is that it's not just for anywhere. It has targeted areas, but a lot of those areas fall in Saginaw County. So if you would like a list of those areas, if you're kind of interested in that as an option, feel free to, message Amy and I, and we can get you more information. But kind of the overall general thing with the MISHDA second-time mortgage is that you can get up to a $10K down payment assistance.
That's huge.
That's huge, and it's like a 6.3 interest rate.
I believe so, yes.
Yep. And then if you don't need the down payment assistance, it's like 5.3%. I mean, of course, these interest rates change a little bit every day. But, around that 5% interest rate, if you're not needing the down payment assistance, the minimal credit's like 640, and it's for anybody looking for a home under 225. I believe it's 225 or 224. So, hitting that average price range we've been talking about, a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of second-time home buyers are still in that price range. So it can be a really great option and be a reason to kind of start looking at broadening your radius of looking for homes to be able to take advantage of that program.
Assistance. Like, okay, well, you were thinking of this area, but let's look at these areas where it is offered. Mm-hmm. And,
because that could be the
homes,
big difference for
meet
somebody.
Your criteria out there. Right.
Yeah.
Huge.
And, because we always want to do what's best for our buyers, and that's get them into homes where by the end of the transaction, they are happy with
the home that they have.
And what they needed to do to get there.
Right.
So it's always good for us to have that in our back pocket. So that was something I wanted to mention because I had these clients that were looking in an area outside of the targeted areas. And I said, well, maybe we start looking in one of these targeted areas. Yeah. Could open up some new doors.
And it's a learning experience too for myself. Like if I haven't been in those areas recently, and then you get the privilege of going in, looking at the homes, knowing the inventory down there in case, you come across other clients that need it too.
Exactly. It's always helpful when we have our boots on the ground because, and we try to all the time because you never know who you're going to run into. And you could be like, hey, actually, I just had a client buy in this targeted area. This is what we did. That sounds like a great option for you as well. And there you go. That buyer just had a lot easier of an experience.
Right.
Because, hey, we just did this. And I love it when that works out that way.
I know. I do like the learning process too. It's okay to say, hey, I don't know. Let's learn together.
And that is huge. I very commonly say, I don't know, but I know who to go ask.
Yes.
Because we have an office of over 50 agents and our brokers and even just each other. I mean, it's impossible for one agent to have experienced every single scenario that's ever happened in real estate. And it's great when we can sit down together and be like, hey, this is what I have going on. Have you ever experienced this? Actually, yes, I have. And
right. And it's nice because almost every day there's an email that comes through.
Yeah.
Does someone have an answer to this question? I haven't come across it yet. And someone inevitably will be able to answer that from our office.
Yeah, because any agent that tells you that they know everything and they've done it all and they have an answer to every question, they don't.
They don't.
I mean, we can make very good educated guesses, but I rather do the investigating, do the legwork for my clients to make sure I have the right answer.
Right.
Before I just kind of guess. And sometimes I might be right. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Here's what I'm thinking, but I'd rather
give me
for sure.
Yeah, give me a couple hours. Let me get back to you.
Yep.
Whether that's going to a lender or going to another agent or office, sending an email, or hey, I know Amy does a lot also, in this area. Let me reach out to her. Yep. Or I know, so and so does a lot with these type of homes or with condos. I reached out to a couple agents that I knew sold condos more frequently than I did to kind of get that, get answers to some of my questions and that insight. So that's always an important thing. I kind of
Right.
chuckle when, I have people, I walk into them and they're like, how much is my home worth and this and that? And I'm like, well,
It depends.
it depends. There's a lot of things, but let's find out together. Let's find the answer together because we're a team. Let's operate like a team. Let's come to these conclusions together. So then then the conversation doesn't turn into, well, you told me and you were wrong. It was, hey, we came to this answer, this conclusion together. No one likes that. But it's, hey, we came to this conclusion together and it didn't pan out the way we thought it was going to. But that's okay because we're a team and we're working together.
Yeah, let's go this route now.
Yeah, exactly. Let's pivot and change. So Amy, anything else that you'd like to add just about what you're seeing in Saginaw or just in the market in general?
I think the one thing I did run into, I had a listing appointment, and I'll be very open about it. I don't know if I'm going to get the listing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood. It is so dated inside.
Mm-hmm.
And the person taking care of the sale is foreign.
Mm-hmm.
And they're used to doing things in their country that are just different with how we do things with real estate here.
Mm-hmm.
And not that it's bad, but he said, well, typically we list high and then come down.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well,
I've heard that many times.
I said, we call that chasing the market here. I said, what I would like to do, is come maybe go a little bit lower than what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And you're opening up a wider pool of buyers to come in
Mm-hmm.
because it's going to be a project home.
Mm-hmm.
And again, bones are great. You probably, it's updating.
And that conversation can get tricky when it comes to the updating because sometimes what one person thinks is outdated, the other person has loved since the 70s. And they don't see it that way. And so that can be a very tricky conversation of saying, hey, this is the market expectations.
Yes.
We are not meeting market expectations. And that's hard when you're saying that to a seller that they
Truly
would,
love the
they would
aesthetic of the house. Yeah.
exactly. And I always tell my sellers, it's
It
your
is rough.
home.
It is tough.
You should love your home. It's your home.
Yes.
But it's not going to be anymore. It's going
No.
to be somebody else's. But that can be a little bit of a tricky conversation. But it sounded like you handled it as best as you could.
As best as I could. I mean, it just is one of those situations where you're like, well,
it never helps to...
I don't want to be dishonest.
Exactly. And it never helps to make promises or be, misleading just to get the listing because then when it doesn't all pan out, you're not helping anybody.
No. No.
If it's just, well, I'm going to tell them this just so I can get the listing and
Yeah,
then we'll
I don't
see what
like doing
happens. It really never ends very well. It's always good to be just very upfront, very transparent and honest. And that's not being mean or cruel because I used to stage homes for our office. And that was a conversation I had a lot was going into people's homes and telling them that they had to change things. And, I was just always upfront and honest with them and transparent because it's like, hey, you're coming to me because you want to sell your home. And I can do that, but I'm going to be honest with you of what we're going to need to do that. Because there's been homes I've been into and toured that you can kind of tell maybe, an agent was just really excited just to get that listing, but hadn't really prepped their clients for the reality of what that was going to look like when they got on the market. And then you sit there. And then you have to have, then you have to have have much harder conversations after that.
I didn't feel badly after, leaving the appointment because I thought, well, he's got stuff to think over. Yeah. He doesn't need to get it on the market right away. Again, like we were talking, maybe right now isn't the best time.
Yeah.
It could be if it's priced right.
If it's priced right and the buyer, if the buyer's still out there, I mean, the buyers that were looking this summer, there are still buyers out there looking. I did showings last night and we're going to write an offer and it's a done deal, but they don't have kids that started school. Their lives really haven't changed moving into September. So those buyers are still out there. Mm-hmm. It's just having the right expectations in case it doesn't pan out exactly how we thought right out the gate.
Yes.
But honesty is the best policy.
I think so too.
It always is. Even if sometimes you don't get that listing because you will have much harder conversations than if you were just
that's
upfront.
kind of what I was thinking too. I didn't want to set up this like, yes, we'll throw it on the market for this price and you'll have tons of buyers coming in. I felt like, let's be straightforward about what's going on out here. And if you want to list at this price, this is what these homes look like.
Yeah.
And homes that sold 2.5 years ago that you're citing, it's a different market.
It is. And, we had said that, when you are, listing your home and you're kind of going through this process, that those are all really important things to take into consideration of, what are these homes looking like? What do they look like that have sold really quickly? What are the ones that have been sitting for a while? And just being honest about that and being, unbiased when you are talking about that.
These are the facts.
These are the facts. We don't make the facts.
No.
We are here to present the facts.
I'm here to present the market data. This is what it looks like. So
that's the thing too, is that we're coming in with that data.
Yes.
It's not just our opinion.
No.
It doesn't matter what we think, really.
No.
And I never say never. We've mentioned that before. You never say never. And if I have a client that feels very, very strongly, I say, okay, fine. We'll do it. Sure, why not? Why wouldn't we want our clients to get the most that they can for their listing?
We do.
Like, that would be great if it's sold at the higher price. So if we feel very strongly that that is the strategy for us in this situation, okay, we'll do it. But I always say, but the deal is, the trade-off is that after, 7 days or 10 days, whatever we feel is an appropriate amount of time, if we have not procured an offer, then we're going to try my plan.
Yeah.
Then we're going to give my plan a shot and see what happens. And I will say it's happened both ways. We've listed the perfect buyers out there, and they've bought the house at the price that my client was leaning more towards.
Right.
And if I would have said, no, it's never going to sell for that, then I was not helping my client, because you never know what's going to happen. But
there's the never say never.
But if 7 to 10 days we haven't procured an offer, we haven't had that many showings, we're not getting great feedback, then they already knew what was coming. It's not going to be a big surprise. But that's okay. We tried, but now we're going to switch our strategy.
Well, and there could be a shift in the market too. Mm-hmm. And so if right now I feel like it's still a little bit more in favor for the seller.
It is. Yep. But it's kind of
shifting. It's shifting. And if you're not looking at that, then, you're going to look at longer days on market if it's starting to shift. So,
we still have homes that are getting tons of offers 2-3 days on market. Mm-hmm. But there's also really nice homes that are priced appropriately, where now we're maybe running into a little bit more of just a couple offers or one really great offer, and maybe even negotiating back and forth a little bit. Like, I have ran into that. I've talked to other agents who've run, into that. It's not so much of this highest and best environment. We're getting maybe a little bit more into a little back and forth before we come to, an agreement that the seller and buyer are happy with. Now, not always, but we're seeing a little bit more of that.
Which I would say is a little bit more like traditional real estate.
It is. It's how things have been done the last 4 years, especially like new agents that, we know that got in the game in like 2021 and 2022. It's like,
that was a crazy market.
It was a crazy market. And you're going to have to shift some things, because that's really, it has not been that way before. And I don't know if it will be. I don't know how much longer it's going to be, or if it ever will be again. But, we always have to shift.
Yeah, it's flexible. That, the whole ebbing and flowing. So you just have to be ready. As long as you're knowledgeable in your field, it's not a bad thing.
It's not. It's going to be okay.
It is going to be okay.
I say that a lot.
It will look different, but it's going to be okay.
Well, and it's no secret that there's been a lot of changes with our profession in the last month, 2 months. And it was challenging and a little nerve-wracking, at least for me specifically, because when I would go to meet with clients, I'd been saying not the same thing, but having my overall roadmap of my consultations be the same for the last almost 6 years. And now I have to change that. And that's scary. It's hard. I have to think a little bit harder. I have to re-plan what I say and how I say it and how I present things. And that's hard when you've been doing it the same way for a while. And now that's not very common in real estate to be doing anything the same way for a long period of time. But these changes did change things that have been in place and the same for a long time. But it's okay. I mean,
It is okay.
It's been fine. I know even agents that I know just kind of through, connections and friendships around the country, everybody was a little bit nervous. But now everybody's looking and being like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. It's
Okay.
fine.
It's fine. We're
fine.
okay. We're going to be okay.
We are going to be okay. And I like that we have revamped our client roadmap to cover all of the issues that have sort of been thrown our way.
Well, and it's all been to educate our clients. And I feel like that the shift, the changes were a little bit easier for us in our company because we've always been so focused on educating our clients and our clients knowing exactly what's going on, exactly what they're paying and who and what and when and where and why, that when we revamped our material to reflect the things that now we needed to, change and add in, we're still very much within our mission of educating our buyers and sellers. Like that has not changed for
There's
us.
still a process that you're going to follow. A lot of that hasn't really changed. Maybe a couple things, but
Yeah. And it's just all just in the effort of educating our clients. And I think anybody who I've talked to since August, they've appreciated that. Whether they knew what was going on or not, it's like, hey, any extra information is good information. So that so much for us has not changed as far as being very education focused.
yes.
So
Yeah, I really haven't run into any hard conversations around that.
Yeah.
As long as you know what's going on and we've discussed it enough at our office and everyone, again, is educated, then it's easy to talk to your clients.
And relax.
And relax. Like, don't freak out.
Just that's a key in real estate. Don't freak out. It's hard to not freak out sometimes. But all right, Amy, we've had a great conversation today about Saginaw, about Saginaw County, what they have to offer, and even just what's going on in the market in Saginaw, outside of Saginaw. Again, we really always want to educate our clients, no matter where you are or where you're looking. We, like I said in the very beginning, we're licensed for the entire state. So, I mean, we might have to refer you out if you're, up in the UP or something. We want to find somebody.
Not necessarily my neighborhood.
Yeah,
so
we're not there a whole lot, but we'll find somebody for you. We're always here to help. Amy, thank you so much for, coming on today and having this discussion. I always love chatting with you. And, everybody, if you have any questions about anything that Amy and I talked about today, feel free to reach out to us. You can either call our office or you can reach us both directly through our professional Facebook pages. Reach out to us, shoot us a text, an email, and we're happy to answer questions for you. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Modern Agent Podcast. Please follow at Modern Realty Midland on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you need to buy or sell a house, please reach out to Modern Realty by going to www.modernrealty.us. Modern Realty, your home, our focus.